So I would like to call to the stage Mr. Dale Folwell, endorsed candidate for Treasurer of the state of North Carolina. He can straighten it out. Mr. Folwell, come forward, please.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me in the back? Great. I've got a lot of important things to say, and it's you often hear folks get up here at these conventions and say how honored they are to receive the endorsement of the State Employees Association. You know, it's not just an honor for me, it's a responsibility. Because the state treasurer, as many people in this room know, has more responsibilities and duties than any other elected official in the state, except for the governor. The reason I'm humbled and honored by your endorsement is the fact that we have a lot of things to fix. The next state treasurer is going to make a generational difference in the history of our state. The reason that's the case is that for too long, the can has been kicked down the road. The can on the pension plan, and especially the can on the state health plan. Not only have I received the endorsement of this organization, but also many other organizations across North Carolina, the State Troopers Association, dozens of sheriffs across North Carolina, the Fraternal Order of Police, the Police Benevolent Association, and the firefighters and first responders of NC. As I was receiving the endorsement of the firefighters, I asked the gentleman, how many Democrat and Republican fires did you put out this week? He said, sir, there are no Democrat and Republican fires, there are just fires. And that's exactly how we need to look at your money that's at the Treasurer's office. This is not Democrat money. This is not Republican money. This is your money, and somebody needs to take care of it. Some of you in the past have met my wife. Cynthia is an artist and a musician. And the reason that I bring that to your attention today is very simply this. When Cynthia does something for you, you can see it or you can hear it. But the invisible things that are impacting the state employees of North Carolina, sometimes you can't see and you can't hear until somebody brings them to your attention. Let's talk about the pension plan for just a moment. But before doing so, I want to talk to you as the former Assistant Secretary of Commerce who had 700 state employees working for me at DES. These state employees are the untold heroes and the untold stories of how the unemployment system of your state was recently reformed. You know, as the head of the DES, what I realized is that if you set the culture in the right way, that state employees will be creative and hardworking and will do anything for the people of North Carolina. I have witnessed firsthand. For example, when I was there just a few short weeks, Tarsha Crisp, one of our employees who had only been there for 3 years, raised her hand and asked the following question. Why do we pay unemployment benefits before we heard back from the employer as to why this person lost her job or his job. How much common sense does that make to you? Complete common sense. The reason I bring that to your attention is that we took this state employee's idea, we turned it into a law that the governor signed, so now there's a 14-day period so that the employer has an opportunity to respond back to tell us why somebody is no longer working there. The reason that should matter to you is that after this lady's idea came to our attention, and after we nominated and she accepted the Governor's Award of Excellence this year as a state employee, I had about 10 other people come up to me and say, well, I had that idea 5 years ago. I've had that idea 10 years ago. The fact is that if you will listen to state employees, they, in almost every instance, will give you the idea of what it's going to take to fix any problem that we face. I have witnessed firsthand on the corner of Wade and St. Mary's exactly what that is like. So let's talk about the pension plan for a moment. Before I do so, I want to tell you that your organization, SEANC, is embedded in all of the dozens and hundreds of hours of meetings that occur in Raleigh every single day and week. There's not a meeting that goes on regarding your money that these folks aren't involved with on a daily and a weekly basis. So on the pension plan, as you know, it's one of the largest pools of money in the world. As you also know, it's supposed to earn 7.25%. I'm sure there are people in this room who have a 15-year-old child or a 15-year-old grandchild. For the entire time that that 15-year-old has been living, your state pension plan has not earned the 7.25% rate of return on average. As a matter of fact, it earned less than 1% last year. In addition to that, and I want to thank Ron Elmer, who this group endorsed for treasurer in the primary, who has been a huge help to me over the last few months. In addition to that, Ron Elmer points out that not only did it not earn 1%, but it paid out $560 million in fees to Wall Street. Most people say, "Are you serious?" Can I hear that one time? We are serious because this is your money. So what's happening is that the money is not earning what it's supposed to, and it's paying out a lot of fees. So my first pledge to you as the recipient of your endorsement to be the next state treasurer is that I'm going to cut at a minimum $100 million out of the fee structure of your pension plan. I hope you like that. Let's talk about the state health plan for a moment. The state health plan, unlike the pension plan, is bankrupt. If your state health plan was a standalone insurance company, the insurance commissioner would have no choice but to shut it down. I've been involved and worked side by side with SEANC for the last 10 years on not only the state health plan, but the pension plan. When we took us 6 years to get your state health plan on a calendar year so that it is aligned with all the benefits that occur in your life. In addition to that, we worked on the spiking issue for the pension plan. And if you're not familiar with the spiking issue, it's probably because spiking is used for people who are in power or people who know people who are in power. You may have recently read that Johnston County Superintendent was able to get just a few $1,000s of his compensation moved from one area to another, and that ended up spiking his pension by $512,000 over his lifetime. Now, who do you think was going to pay that $512,000? You are. This spiking has been going on, and what's happened is when somebody spikes their salary in the last 4 years of their income, that spiking then gets paid by all of you collectively. So to talk about the health plan for a moment, there are lots of opportunities in the state health plan. We have highway patrolmen, we have school teachers, we have DOT workers and state employees from around North Carolina, many who have to work a day a week to pay the family premium on your state health plan. Does that make any sense to anyone in this room? A day a week. My point of telling you that is that it's tragic, and it's not going to happen under my watch, that a state employee has to work a day a week to pay the family premium. And it's tragic that we have new employees who cannot afford to put their families on the state health plan because it's too expensive. Now, what's happened as a result of that is we end up with a state health plan that is driving away young, healthy families. So if you had an insurance company that drove away all the good drivers, so to speak, what kind of insurance company would you have? Not a very healthy one. So my second pledge to you as the recipient of your endorsement is that from the time I'm sworn in to the end of my first term as treasurer, I am going to freeze family premiums for state employees for the entire 4-year period. Now, you may ask yourself, how's he going to do that? Well, the way that we're going to do that is we're going to do what I've done everywhere else I've been, which is to cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse. 7 years ago, our son broke his femur behind Reynolds High School. I was in Raleigh serving, and 12 days after he broke his femur, I received a check for $525.10 in the mail. Now, as honest as you all are, you have to admit for at least 2 seconds, if you receive a check in the mail that's made out to you, at least for 2 seconds, you think that might be my money. I knew whose money that was. It was the ambulance company, the Forsyth County EMS. I called the state health plan, your state health plan, and I said, why am I having to put a stamp on a check that belongs to someone else? They said, we refuse to negotiate with them. I said, 911 did not refuse to answer the phone, did not refuse to dispatch an ambulance, and did not refuse to transport my son to the Baptist hospital. Well, we just won't negotiate with them. After I figured this out, then I put my CPA hat on. I said, this is kind of interesting. I found a person in Winston-Salem who was on the state health plan who called the ambulance 22 times that year and collected $525.10 every time they did it. Guess how much of that money they ended up paying to the ambulance company? Zero. And whose money was that? Yours. My point of stressing that to you is that no one is going to walk into any problem that's facing this state or this country with a 10% solution to any of these problems. But there are 100, if not 1,000 little bitty solutions where we can cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And when we freeze family premiums for 4 years, guess what we're going to end up with on the state health plan? Younger, healthier families. Guess what happens to your insurance company when you end up with younger, healthier families? The premiums can go down more. And when we drive premiums down more, guess what can happen? We attract more young, healthy families. The fact is, it's tragic that the largest purchaser in health care in North Carolina, which is your state health plan, cannot do it better and cheaper on your behalf. That's what I pledge to you as the next state treasurer. I'll give you a few closing remarks, and I was asked the other day about what the number one thing that crosses my mind as I travel between 200 and 300 miles a day and give 8 to 12 speeches a day. The most important thing that crosses my mind is this: the people that the citizens of North Carolina trust to educate their children, to pave their roads, to keep the zoo open, to run the ports, all the other important functions of state government. in addition to crime and public safety, that the people that North Carolinians trust to do all of those jobs, which are all of you and the other state employees of North Carolina, the people that North Carolinians trust to do those jobs for them, trust me to manage their pension and health care. That's the most powerful thing that I use every day as we work 18 to 20 hours to become your next state treasurer. I also want to say that in my tenure as your state treasurer that I'm going to attack problems and not people. I think you, like me, are tired of folks who would just attack people and don't attack the problems. These folks who work for state government who can't afford the family health plan, to me, that's a problem, something we need to work on. I also want to tell you that it's very important for you to know that as your state treasurer, I will never accept any outside compensation, nor will I ever sit on any corporate boards while I'm your treasurer of North Carolina. As I left the house this morning, Cynthia, my wife, said, "Can you be a little less intense when you talk to those people today? Can you smile a little bit?" I know there's all kinds of basketball and football fans in the audience, but I remember when someone asked Coach K about his courtside manner. And Coach K's response was, "You know, there's some things that happen right in front of your eyes that are worth getting upset about." When we have a pension plan that's not earning what it's supposed to, which is paying out $500 million in fees, a state health plan that has a $30 billion liability, and when we have state employees who can no longer afford the family premium, that's worth getting mad about. And I can tell you, that with your endorsement and my application to be your next state treasurer, we're going to fix these problems. It's very important as I close for you to know the following. Over the next 7 weeks, people are going to be talking to you about the presidential race, the senatorial race, the governor's race. How many people in this room have ever had someone thank them for being a public servant? Raise your hand. I have. The next time somebody thanks you for being a public servant, I want you to respond in the following way. If you really want to thank me, go vote Dale Folwell for state treasurer. Because it's not the president, and it's not the governor, and it's not the senator that's going to make a difference in the two most important things in your life, which are your pension and your health care. You know, with everything that's going on in our world today, especially the demands that are being put on public servants, the last thing that any of you, whether you're retired or an active employee, needs to be thinking about is the safety and the security of your state health plan and your pension plan. These problems are estimable because we have reports that show it. They're probable because people are going to get sick and they are going to retire. But on an optimistic note, these problems are solvable. I can't imagine being the state treasurer of North Carolina and not being able to work alongside with SEANC. My last name's Folwell. My time is up, and I thank you for yours. God bless you.